"You're not our real father," Emma shouted, her voice shaking the quiet living room. "Stop pretending you care." Lily, my younger daughter, stood beside her, arms crossed, nodding. I gripped the arms of my old chair, feeling their words hit like sharp knives. After raising them alone for 20 years, this was the pain I never expected. "I'm Daniel," I wanted to say. "I've been your father since you were little. I changed your diapers, helped you with homework, stayed up when you were sick. But none of that mattered now." "We found our real dad," Lily said coldly. She threw a picture on the table, a rich-looking man standing in front of a huge house. "He's successful. Unlike you." I looked at the photo, then at my daughters. Emma, 23, and Lily, 21, stared at me like I was nothing. This was the same house where I had bandaged their scraped knees, wiped away their tears, and cheered them on in life. "We took a DNA test," Emma said. "He's our biological father, and he wants to make up for lost time. He can give us what you never could." I thought about the old box in the attic, full of letters, photos, and secrets I'd kept to protect them. But now wasn't the time to reveal the truth. "If that's what you believe," I said calmly, standing up, "I won't stop you." "That's it," Lily snapped. "You're not even going to fight for us? You can't fight for people who have already made up their minds," I answered. Emma grabbed her bag. "We're moving in with him. He's paying for our college. Something you could never afford." I watched as they packed, taking down family pictures from the walls. Had they been planning this for weeks? Maybe longer? "When you leave," I said softly, "take whatever you want. The house will be empty for a while anyway." Lily hesitated. "What do you mean?" "I got a job offer far away," I said. "Since you found your real father, there's nothing keeping me here." Emma scoffed. "Good. We don't need you pretending anymore." They left without looking back. I went to the attic, opening the box of truths they never asked for. Inside were police reports, letters, and proof of who their biological father really was. The kind of man he had been. The kind of man I had protected them from. But they weren't ready for that yet. That night, I made 3 calls. One to my lawyer, one to my friend at the police station, and one to accept my new job. My daughters would learn the truth someday. Maybe not now, maybe not soon, but eventually. As I packed up my life, I remembered something Emma once said when she was 6. "Even if you're not my real dad, you're my real father because you choose me every day." If only she remembered that now. The next morning, as I loaded the last box into my car, I took one last look at our home. The garden we planted, the driveway where they learned to ride bikes, the porch where we had laughed and dreamed. "Goodbye, girls," I whispered. "I hope you find what you're looking for." Deep down, I knew they would. And when they did, I would still be here, waiting. 3 months passed like a slow-motion replay of my worst moments. Each morning, I'd wake up in my new apartment in Seattle, check my phone for messages that never came, and try to build a life that didn't revolve around being a father. My lawyer, Michael, kept me updated. They've tried to access their college funds, he told me during one of our weekly calls. They seemed surprised to find out they couldn't without your signature. And their real father? I asked, staring out at the rain-soaked city skyline. "James Anderson." Michael's voice dripped with disgust. "Apparently isn't as wealthy as he pretended to be. The mansion was rented for photos, and his supposed business empire is more smoke and mirrors than substance." I closed my eyes, fighting the urge to jump on the next flight home. Have they figured it out yet? Not entirely, but they're starting to ask questions. The right ones. The first crack in their perfect new life appeared 6 weeks after I left. Emma called late one night, her voice small and uncertain. I let it go to voicemail. Daniel, she stumbled over the words. "Something's weird with James. He keeps asking about Mom's inheritance, about our trust funds. I know we said, call me back maybe." I didn't. A week later, Lily texted, "The house feels strange without your stupid dad jokes. James doesn't even know how I take my coffee." I saved the message but didn't respond. Then came the morning I'd been dreading and hoping for in equal measure. Michael called earlier than usual, his voice urgent. "They found out about James' past," he said without preamble. "He got drunk last night, started bragging about how easy it was to find them online, how a DNA test and some fake photos were all it took to get access to their lives." My hand tightened around the phone. "Are they okay?" Physically, yes. Emotionally, they're asking about the box, Daniel. I think it's time. I had expected this moment, planned for it even, but it still felt like standing on the edge of a cliff. Follow the protocol we discuss, I said. They need to understand everything, not just parts of the truth. That afternoon, Emma and Lily arrived at Michael's office, their faces pale and drawn. He handed them each a letter I'd written, explaining that the box contained 20 years of history, their history, but it came with conditions. Your father, Michael told them, requires that you review everything together, in order with me present. No skipping ahead, no taking anything home. You'll understand why when you see what's inside. They agreed. In my apartment, I sat staring at my phone, knowing that at that very moment my daughters were learning the truth about their mother, a woman who had abandoned them not once, but repeatedly. They were discovering who James Anderson really was, a con man with a history of targeting vulnerable families. And hardest of all, they were learning what it had cost me to keep them safe, to give them a childhood free from the weight of these truths. Hours passed. My phone remained silent. Then, just as the Seattle sunset painted my windows in shades of orange and pink, a text arrived from Michael. They know everything now. Ball's in their court. I walked out onto my small balcony, remembering all the times I'd wanted to tell them the truth. When Emma had cried about not looking like me at age 12. When Lily had asked why we never talked about their mother during her 16th birthday. When they both insisted that finding their real father would fill the holes in their hearts. But I'd made a promise, to them, to myself, to my late wife, that I would protect them from these truths until they were ready to face them. My phone buzzed again. A message from Emma. Dad, we're so sorry. Please come home. Then Lily, we were wrong. So wrong. You're our real father. You always were. I let the tears fall freely now, 20 years of protected secrets finally finding their way into the light. But I didn't respond immediately. They needed time to process, to understand, to really grasp what it meant to choose family over biology. Instead, I sent a simple text to Michael. Take care of my girls. They know where to find me when they're ready. Because sometimes being a father means waiting for your children to find their way back to you, even when every instinct screams to run to them first. The rain started falling as night settled over Seattle. But for the first time in 3 months, I felt something like peace. They knew the truth now. All of it. The rest was up to them. I went inside, made a cup of coffee, and sat down to write one more letter, not of explanation or defense, but of forgiveness. Because that's what real fathers do. 2 weeks later, I was organizing my small home office when the doorbell rang. My heart skipped a beat. I knew who it would be before I even opened the door. There they stood, Emma and Lily, their eyes red from crying, clutching the photo albums I'd left behind. For a moment, none of us spoke. Then Emma stepped forward, her voice breaking. You kept every single drawing we ever made, she said, holding up a faded piece of paper with a child's scrawl. Even the ugly ones. They were never ugly to me, I replied softly. Lily launched herself into my arms, sobbing. We were so stupid, Dad, so incredibly stupid. I held her tight, opening my other arm for Emma, who hesitated only a second before joining our embrace. For a long moment, we just stood there, letting years of hurt and misunderstanding wash away with their tears. Inside, they settled on my couch, looking around at my modest apartment. Their eyes landed on the wall where I'd hung their photos, not just the perfect family portraits, but the messy, real moments. Lily with cake all over her face on her 5th birthday. Emma asleep on my shoulder during a camping trip, both of them covered in mud after we tried to plant a garden in the rain. You didn't have to protect us from the truth, Emma said finally. About Mom, about everything. Yes, I did, I replied, sitting across from them. You needed to grow up feeling loved, not abandoned. You needed to believe in family and trust in the good things. The truth could wait until you were ready to understand it. But we hurt you, Lily whispered. We said such awful things. I leaned forward, taking their hands in mine. Do you remember what I always told you about family? That it's not about blood, they recited together, just like when they were little. It's about who chooses to stay, Emma finished, fresh tears rolling down her cheeks. And I chose you, I said firmly, every single day for 20 years. Even these past 3 months, I was still choosing you. Choosing to let you learn these lessons on your own, even though it broke my heart to stay away. They told me everything then, about how James's true nature emerged once the initial excitement wore off, how he'd started asking about money, making excuses about his supposed wealth being tied up in investments, how he'd gotten angry when they couldn't access their college funds. But the worst part, Lily said, was realizing that he didn't know us at all. He didn't know that I'm allergic to strawberries, or that Emma needs complete silence to study, or that we both hate cilantro. He never asked about our lives, Emma added. He just wanted to be the hero who rescued us from our fake father. I made us dinner as we talked, their favorite pasta recipe, the one they'd helped me perfect over countless Sunday dinners. The familiar routine felt like healing, like coming home. What happens now? Lily asked as we cleared the dishes. That's up to you, I said. I'm here, I've always been here, but you need to decide what you want. They exchanged a look, then Emma spoke. We want to come home, Dad, if you'll have us. The house feels wrong without you, Lily added. Nothing feels right without you. I pulled them close again, these daughters of my heart if not my blood. Home isn't the house, I told them. Home is wherever we're together. But yes, of course you can come home. Later that night, as they prepared to leave, promising to return the next weekend to help me pack, Emma handed me a package. We made this, she said, after we read everything in the box. Inside was a new photo album. On the first page was a picture of me holding them as babies, and beneath it, in their handwriting, to our real father, the one who chose us every day. The pages that followed were filled with photos, ticket stubs, birthday cards, 20 years of memories, each annotated with their thoughts and apologies and love. On the last page was a recent photo of them, holding a sign. DNA doesn't make a father. Love does. We're going to spend the rest of our lives making this up to you, Lily promised. I shook my head, smiling through my tears. No, we're going to spend the rest of our lives being a family. That's all I've ever wanted. As I watched them drive away, I thought about the box in Michael's office, now empty of its secrets. Those truths had served their purpose, but they weren't what mattered anymore. What mattered was the choice we were all making now, to be family, to forgive, to love not because of blood or obligation, but because we wanted to. I went back inside and opened the photo album again, adding a note of my own beneath their last picture, to my daughters, who taught me that sometimes the hardest paths lead us right back home. Love, your real dad.